Hi, and welcome to the Misguided Salon series. I am your host, Paul Goslin, creator of Misguided. Today, I am chatting with Chuck Sekula, who joined Misguided the very first season as Trevor. In our conversation, we chat about Chuck's acting journey, what it was like to make his Broadway debut in Aida, how it feels to star and create your own content, and the journey that takes. And then we talk about all of the soaps Chuck has appeared on, from coast to coast. If you are a Days of Our Lives fan, Chuck drops a bomb that even I didn't see coming. Enjoy. What was that for?
Because you're cute, like super cute. I couldn't resist.
Well, thanks. Why don't you tell me something about yourself?
Well, Mr. Actor, I too am in television.
An actor? A writer? You're not in casting, because I have been down that road before and I will not do it again.
No, but that sounds like an interesting story that we will circle back around to.
Oh, no, we will not. A producer.
Bingo. It's not on a major primetime show or anything, but
That's okay. I'm sure it's a great show.
it is. It's a lot of fun to work on.
Cool. Well, I mean, I can't tell if it's the alcohol or not, but you keep getting more and more attractive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Hi,
Hi,
good to
Chuck.
see you.
It's
It's
so
been
good.
forever.
I know, it's good to see you. You look great.
Thank you, so do you.
Your gorgeous face still.
Close to, it's a little older, but
We all, I mean, I think I have less hair even still. I've fully embraced it though. Like, I fully go all the way down.
you have a good shape. I've got lumps and whatnot, so I can't go bald. So
Well,
now,
I've lucked out. Okay, so let's just dive right in. First question I usually ask people on these is how we met and how did you become a part of Misguided? And I know it's been a few years, so if you don't remember, that's totally okay. I'm just curious what you remember.
I'm trying to remember because it was Misguided was one of my. I moved here 10 years ago, and it was one of the first things I did. So I want to say it's been close to 9, 10 years, correct?
Oh, well, we started. I think we filmed in 2014.
2014. So
Uh,
yeah, it's been a while, and I think you reached out to me if I recall.
I
Uh,
I did, but only because you submitted. So
yeah,
Trevor came about because it was the only character that I didn't have a friend to fill that role for, and so I did. It's the first casting breakdown that I ever wrote and put down for the series, and you were, I think, three people submitted that like immediately, or like soon after I posted it, and you you had a reel that caught my attention because it was almost all soap work.
oh yeah, at that time, yeah, definitely. It was um, One Life to Live
Uh-huh.
and All My Children.
Yeah, there was a scene with Jerry Verdorn, and I think it was from One Life to Live and not when he played Ross on Guiding Light. But I remember I distinctly was like, I called up my friend Laura and I was like, I think I just found the perfect guy. He is full of soap credits. He's incredibly attractive, and I think this is perfect. It's meant to be. And you were the only person I didn't know personally, and I didn't have any sort of timetable to do auditions. So I was like, I don't know if I should just offer this and reach out because I had no idea who you were. And we ended up having mutual friends because I did a little Google stalking or Facebook stalking, I guess, and we shared a friend in at the time. I think it was the only one I knew at the time was Kate Bazakis,
Right.
and you worked with her.
Yeah, in New York, and we did the Rosie cruises. Yeah, she
Yeah,
was out here. I don't even think she started. Rockwell yet at that point.
No, I don't think she was working there like full time. I think she had done like a show or was like hosting shows there. Because I saw her at Rockwell and I was like, "Tell me about this Chuck. Is he a good egg?" And she was like, "Work with him. It will be a blast." And
Oh,
I was
good,
like, "Good.
good.
Okay. Great. Sold."
I had the pleasure of working on every New York soap
Oh, yes.
or
Okay.
their demise, every single one of them. So,
Well, that leads to like a question that I was wondering. So
okay.
I think you have worked on like you did all the New York shows, and then there was a handful that you've done here in LA as well. And I'm curious if you have a favorite or a memorable soap role that you have.
Oh gosh. So I will say this. I can say this. I have worked on all the soaps except for Bold and the Beautiful. That is
Okay,
my last one. So I went from New
Christy.
York all the way. Yeah, exactly. I gotta. I've had a good time with a lot of them. I love working at Days of Our Lives. I've had I have the privilege of having two recurring roles
Hmm?
on Days of Our Lives. So I was, in fact, we joke about it with Marnie Seda and Bob Lambert, but I was originally hired as Thug One,
Okay.
right? And I was on all week, and I said, "Hey, can I please have a name?" Like they're like, I'm like just like T period hug, something like that. And I did recur a few times as T period hug.
Oh my gosh.
Uh, but I love working with Marnie and Bob, and I love working at Days of Our Lives so much that they, um, for a good 2 to 3 years, and even so this, before the pandemic, whenever they needed a voiceover or a mysterious stranger or uh, kidnapping, or so there was a strangler on there a couple of years ago who killed everyone with neckties.
Yes.
Yeah, that was me. So that was me. So
Whoa.
yeah, so they never
Ooh.
showed. I mean, it was a different character,
Sure,
but
sure.
any of the killings were me. Any of the kidnappings were killing
This is a
were
shock.
me. Yeah. Any voiceovers, mysterious was me. It was
Wow.
so I had, and I still have I'm in touch with them very well, and I know a lot of them over there. They're the generosity over there. They're so professional. They're so friendly. I love going there. The energy is very great over there. And the same with when I was back in New York. I loved working on As the World Turns. The same energy
Hmm.
was very much that, and it was just friendly. It was a great atmosphere to work. One Life to Live, I had a lot of fun playing that character because I was a lawyer. I had a recurring role as a lawyer for a not Ace. Is it not
There was
Ace?
Ace Buchanan. There was Clint Buchanan. Okay.
I was
Oh
Clinton
yeah.
Buchanan's lawyer, and it was Eddie. I'm trying to remember. John Wesley Shipp was my
Okay.
client, who's used to be on it, and he's Flash and whatnot, and he's such a great bad guy. So every time I got to a point where I was representing all the bad people, and I would always win. So much so that Hillary, and I'm forgetting her last name, who
Uh,
played
Hillary
Nora.
B. Smith. Or-
Uh, yeah, she played Nora Buchanan. She would
Mhm.
always say, she was like, "I hate when you show up because you always win your case." So that was always fun.
That's
But those
cool.
are, and I still love working at Days of Our Lives because the people, and it's just fun
Yeah.
having to kill people or kidnap or scare people, or
Right.
it's
It's very fun, and I do think I mean I got the chance to work on As the World Turns, and I will say the same thing that um, I feel like a lot of the soap casts are very because it's a well-oiled machine, and they're very welcoming to if you're there for a day, you're there for a few days, but I felt very welcomed on As the World Turns and in One Life to Live as well.
it
Just
was a little bit of a, I remember when One Life to Live was about to go off the air in New York,
mm,
and it was tense, and they needed to get film shots. They needed to get shots. So all of a sudden became really professional. And
yeah,
the executive producers were down on the floor, which never happens. And they were just making like, go, go, go. one take, go, one take, go, go, go.
Yeah.
That was towards the end.
Yeah. Which is very different than the rest of the time.
Exactly, exactly.
I do remember there was because I became friendly with Victoria, who was the associate casting director there in at One Life, and it was probably a week or so after there was announcements or whatever, and it was close to the end, but they wanted she. I had sent her a postcard or something, and it said like I'd love a chance, before it goes off the air to come back because I had done like 3 roles so far, and she called me. It was over the summer before they were going off, and it was a kid's birthday party, and they needed someone to play Spider-Man. And I was like so excited, but they didn't have the exact dates, and my day job had me coming to LA for some of the time that they might have needed me. And so I couldn't have done it, and it broke my heart because I was like, that would have been so cool. Ended up watching the scene, and I was like, oh, that was a good one.
Yeah.
But oh well.
It's a
So
big-
yeah, but soaps aren't your only thing. You are multi-talented. Like we said, you worked with Kate Pazakis on the Rosie Cruise, so you're very musically gifted as well. You made your Broadway debut. Am I going to correctly get this right? In Aida?
yeah.
Okay. And I think you met a mutual friend of ours there as well, Ben Cameron.
Oh yeah. We we share our birthdays are a few days apart, so we always had a good celebration during the year.
Nice. So Broadway is like every musical actor's dream. Um, I'm assuming same for you. Like it was a dream come true for you. So what did that feel opening night, being on stage, like seeing this dream you've had realized come to be?
It didn't hit me, and I gotta tell you, I have the same feeling. My first national tour was with Donny Osmond and Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat of that caliber, and I had the same effect with the Donny Osmond tour and the Broadway. Was you don't really realize it until your first bow on your
Okay.
first day, and because you're constantly working and you want to get it perfect, and everyone's professional, and there's unions and there's rules, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm just going along with it. I love it. And it didn't hit me until I took my bow. All of a sudden a big rush of can I say fuck?
Yeah, of course, please.
You're just like, what the fuck just happened? And there's a big, like, it hits you all of a sudden, and then you're really tired afterwards. Like,
Okay.
like it just felt like a huge, oh my, I've worked so hard for this, and it came, and I didn't realize it was happening, and it's here. And then it was just all of a sudden I got really tired, and I was like, oh, I can just breathe. And uh, it's exciting and it's exhilarating and it was fun, and I couldn't wait to come back to work and keep continuing to work. I love going out the stage door and seeing all the fans, and which is all very exciting. But it still grows. You have to continue to grow. But
Sure.
both of those times I just over elated, surprised, and then really tired. And the same thing when because I was the understudy in Aida for Radames, and the same thing happened the first time I went on as Radames.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, I'm doing it.
Who was in the show at the time when you were there?
At Aida,
Yeah.
joined when so we were right in the transfer from Heather had just left and Simone was taking over. So I was rehearsing with Simone and Simone, Felicia Finley, and no, I think Adam was still there,
Okay.
Adam Pascal. And then we had a lot of turnover. We went through the whole Tony Braxton, Michelle Williams, Deborah Cox.
I was gonna ask because I remember I looked at the list and I was like, I forgot they had all of these amazing like singers like pass through here.
Oh yeah, yeah. And it was fun because we didn't know who we were going to get. And then we started putting in our own, like we lobbied for Deborah Cox.
Okay.
We lobbied for her and we got her. And
Nice.
she could have kept that show going. There was a lot of, should we stay open? Should we not? Should we stay open at that time? And then Disney just said, let's go out with a bang. And they went out with a bang with the fantastic Deborah Cox.
Amazing.
They were all, again, another experience of everyone at the show was very fun. We had a good time. It was a good cast.
Nice. I think because I know our times in New York coincided as well, because I was there from uh, 2002 to 2011, and I don't know what I was thinking, but I never got to see Aida, and it probably would have been around the same time you were there.
Yeah, I joined February of 2002, actually. Yeah, I was there. I was there for a little bit, and then they took me on the road
Okay.
for about 9 months, and then I came back. I came back with Tony Braxton was in the cast.
Nice. Cool. But speaking of musicals that I have seen you in, I got to see you in Sweet Charity here in LA. And I think this sort of brings everything that we've talked about kind of together because it starred Laura Bell Bundy, who I knew from Guiding Light, and then who since went on to do like amazing things. So what was that experience like? Because I feel like I read somewhere that the rehearsal process for that show was shortened. I could be mistaken, but
It was shortened, and they were bringing back the Reprise series
yeah,
that was it back in the early 2019 or in late 90s and early 2000. And so this was their first premiere go at it, and it's sad that it didn't take off because uh, they were great shows and great people. That was a shortened version. We had Kathleen Marshall was directing and
yeah,
choreographing, and she's the uber talented Kathleen Marshall, and her time is limited. But we also had, unfortunately, Laura Bell had lost her father
yeah.
during that, and literally um, opening night, she flew back from wherever she was from her father's funeral, or she went home and said goodbye.
Yeah, I
She,
remember reading that happened during that process.
she is a trooper professional and one of the nicest people around.
I was gonna ask what it was like working alongside her. So
She's a pro. To watch her work, you're like, that is a true professional. She knew her lines. She knew what she wanted. She knew what she wanted to do.
yeah,
There was always a discussion if needed to be. Uh, she was great,
yeah,
simply great, despite everything that was going on with her.
yeah. She and what's I don't know. It's interesting to see her path, her rise to fame the way it has happened because she started as a child actress as well. Ruthless, I want to say, which Britney Spears was an understudy for her.
Yeah.
To see that, and so they're the same age or roughly the same age or whatever, and Laura Bell has just taken her career and done wonderful things with it, and I'm excited that she's still working and putting out amazing new music that has like a poignant message to it. And I think I'm like really happy to see someone that I've watched for so long grow in this capacity.
She's very flexible. She can do anything. I don't know if flexible is the right word, but she's very she can put herself into any role, and
Yeah.
it is amazing. I was trying to remember the I want to say it was some sort of Jurassic Park type of
Oh,
dinosaur
uh, that she was in
that she was in.
did Jumanji.
Jumanji, that's what it was.
Jumanji. Yeah.
And she makes fun of herself, the way she looked and how she back then to where she is now. She's had an amazing career and is still going strong. She's not done.
Yeah. Oh no, not for a long shot.
Now she has a child, so and the child
Yeah.
is
This has become like a Laura Bell Bundy fan podcast now. Okay, so let's talk about something we actually have in common as well. Is you produced a short film called Still Here. That's done every time I see a post. It's another laurels that you've got from a film festival, which is awesome. So I want to talk about producing your own content and putting it out there and even starring in it. So we can start with the concept of the short film that you did, and maybe tell a little bit about what it's about.
Sure. So Still Here is a passion project of mine, and it came from, I've danced all my life. I was a professional dancer for years and years and years, and never had once had problems with my knees or anything until, and I'm still to this day, I take dance lesson. Well, before take seven dance classes a week. I like to stay very active. Well, I finally, age got to me, and my knee, I needed surgery on my knee, and I had surgery, and it took me out. Depression took me out. I could not move. I could not be active. It was very hard for me, and I was suffering. So I took pen to paper, saying, and it struck me, the line in the chorus line when the guy breaks his foot, Paul,
Yeah.
and the director says, what would you do if you can't dance anymore? And I've chosen to perform. It's my passion. I've followed what I've loved to do.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it was taken away from me. And it's so weird because it's, with the pandemic, what happened to it. But we'll get back to that.
Yeah.
I had never written anything in my life. So I
Mhm.
literally wrote down, because I think depression affects everyone,
Yeah.
whether physically, emotionally, and how can you make lemonade out of lemons type thing.
Yeah.
So I made it, I took pen to paper, not knowing what to do. I just wrote my feelings down and I put it in a thing of I'm in a wheelchair, and I cannot dance anymore.
Mhm.
And originally I had, what do you do when you can't dance anymore? And so you have to make life out of lemons. And so I wrote down, the stories about me, and my mother, who I'm now forced to live with my mother at my age. I'm over 50, and she's at the end of her life. She doesn't know what to do.
Sure.
You know, so the last thing she can do is to put me in an assisted living home. And come to find out, there's a stage in the assisted living home, and I find myself on said stage. Now, do I get out of the chair and dance and everything's healed? Or is it all a memory? Is it, um, regardless, it's a story of hope and what you do. It could be that, like for instance, the stage is what got me going again.
Yeah.
The, the thrill to like, so, and sometimes you could be in a rut, you could be in a struggle, and then that one word, that one person, that it snaps you out of it and you're back.
Yeah.
So Still Here is that story of hope, um, and moving forward.
It's for your own good.
Welcome to Spirit Works.
Oh, thank you.
This facility was a high school before we took it over. We have 3 meals provided for them daily. We even have a stage.
Did you hear that, honey? A stage. He was quite the dancer, a professional.
Back to, I literally wrote it down, wrote it pen to paper, and I called, my very good friend Leah Mangum, uh, and I said, because I know she writes, and I said, help, I wrote this to get me out of my depression. And she's like, send it over. And Leah said, and she was like, I'll put it into final draft. And I said, okay. And then she did it, and she's like, I'm producing this with you. We're gonna do this.
Oh.
And I said, I know nothing, nothing
Yeah.
about it whatsoever. And she said, I'm gonna help you.
Oh.
And I said, okay. And so I had to raise money. So I went through the the fundraising apps, you know, Indiegogo I started with,
Hmm.
uh, which is daunting. You know, everything about producing a film, as you know, or a series, everything is daunting. It's
Yes.
horrifying. It's overwhelming. It pulls your hair out. You know, you're like, what the am I doing? And Leah said to me, she's like, look, I'm gonna walk you through this process, and every day you're gonna feel like something is horrible, but you're gonna get a homework assignment every day, and you're gonna do it, and pretty soon you're gonna be over that mountain. And I love her. I love her. I love her. I could not have done this without Leah.
That's
Leah,
amazing.
yeah, she did. She gave me assignments. She goes, okay, now this is what you're gonna do. And then I got final draft and I knew how to do that. And then it started rolling. And then you know, I had the perfect cast, the perfect I knew I was catering for a while, and three guys from there, they're now called Radius Films. But at the time they were uh, what were they? I forgot. But they're two of them have separated from working together, but all three are amazing, and we all work together. And I had Tom Pardo was my director.
Oh, okay.
You know Tom Pardo, but he's another similar story to mine. You know, still a working actor, professional dancer, who's getting into director, and he had the same vision as me, and I trusted him with that. And the perfect, like I said, the perfect elements, the perfect cast, the perfect story. It it just fell into place. And you can never underestimate with these fundraising campaigns. I did one for Indiegogo to make the film.
Yeah.
Um, I was overjoyed and surprised and again overwhelmed, elated, the generosity of people who just want to see their friends or their coworkers or someone who has the same interest as you just succeed. And it was overwhelming and humbling. And so I made the film 2 days, and it worked. We all work together. You just got to keep at it.
Yeah.
You just got to do it. You can have an idea, just do it. You just write it down. Someone's going to help you. Indiegogo came. I used the money for all that, and then it's expensive. It can be expensive,
Yeah. Yeah.
as you know. And so again, I reached out with Seed and Spark this time, another great platform,
I
crowdfunding
use,
platform.
yeah, I use them for season 3.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
And they're great as well. And they also will help you distribute your film once it's ready, which I haven't done yet since I'm still playing the circuit. And then lastly, what I did, and even more so, that was to help with editing process can be, you know, it's still expensive. And then lastly, I was like, you know what? I'm going to try one more time on Facebook just to help me pay for film festivals because they are
Yeah.
expensive. And then again, I succeeded with a Facebook donation page, and again, overwhelmed and feeling joy of people who just want to see you succeed, and people who kept donating from previous. I was like, you don't have to. And they're like, no, we want to. And so now I'm here. It's a weird circuit, film festival circuit. It's during the pandemic.
Mhm.
A lot of my, a lot of stuff was pushed, so the season is kind of elongated, and it's still up in the air. But at this day, we're 21 films accepted, 4 awards.
Nice.
We have some more festivals that I've entered. I'm just waiting to hear back. Otherwise, I'm ready to get it on. The next thing is get it on some sort of streaming, and
Awesome.
then you just continue. And then I'm working on another project at this
That was
moment.
my next question, because I was gonna ask if Still Here is in your mind planning to be the standalone project short film, or if you envision seeing it maybe in a different capacity, like maybe a feature or a possible series, or is it okay just as it is? Because I know sometimes you make a film and that's it, that's okay, and that's what it was
Yeah,
meant to be.
yeah. I do have an outline and some scenes written for a feature film of Still Here.
Nice.
Uh, there's a couple ways to look at it. So I have started over this pandemic. There are moments where I've started and said, this sucks. Or, then I keep rearranging the outline. And then there are times when I'm like, oh, this is a great scene. So I write the scene, which will fit somewhere in there. But it's still, the pandemic's been hard on me, I will say, creatively, because you have to be inspired.
Yeah.
I hope it wasn't a lightning in the bottle. But there's another project that has influenced me that I'm working on at the moment.
Good.
That is sparking. It'll be a short. It's definitely a short, but this one is easy.
Good.
Easier, and I'm inspired, and I know exactly what it is.
Oh, that's
great. It was like was still here. I literally wrote down. I sat and wrote for 2 hours. I pen to paper, and it was done, and it started rolling. And I feel this is the same way.
I think that I don't know what that feeling is. It's just like a deep understanding of what you're writing, because I know exactly that moment, because I've written seasons before for Misguided, and I wrote the second season, and I really loved the way that I was progressing with it and telling the story. And I wrote the third season, and I didn't have that feeling. I didn't know what was going on, and I was like, I'm trying just to work through it and write what I want to happen, and that feeling wasn't there. And then I made a few tweaks and a different change to the cast, and it clicked. And I said, oh, this is the feeling. I'm now excited for the project, Dan. I'm excited to do this season. It's the same feeling that I had writing season 2. And then again, like you said, it was really hard to be inspired during this pandemic, and writing the 4th season is something I just wanted to do so that when we come out of this, it's ready to go and we can just film it. And I didn't have anything, and I was like, I don't know what to do, and it took a bunch of different versions, and I finally did. I finally got to that. Oh, there's that excited feeling again. I know what the story is, and I feel like it's carried into the idea for what I want a 5th season to be. So we'll see, but I'm not there yet.
Let me ask you, with because it's still going, and it's great, and you're getting amazing soap opera celebrity stars.
Yeah.
Do you write knowing that you have them? Does that help inspire you, or do you have the story first?
So a lot of these conversations, hopefully my neighbors are not too loud right now. A lot of these conversations that I'm having in this Salon series talks about how people came to be in Misguided. Jackie Zeman, I didn't have her as my mom until the Tuesday before we were filming that Friday. And I had booked everything, and I didn't have anyone to play the role. And I was scrambled. I was like, this is insane. But now, knowing that she plays my mom, I can now write. I wrote season 3 knowing Jackie plays my mom. And I was like, this is perfect. I can now envision Jackie playing this. So, but I do have ideas of who I would love, dream casting. I would love this person to be this role. And I can write hopefully with that person in mind, and if it happens, great. If it doesn't, it's okay. The person, whoever has it, will take it on however they're supposed to. But I've written some of the characters with the idea of someone in mind, but it never fully commits until things are signed and whatnot.
Yeah, you need that inspiration sometimes too.
Yeah, but as a writer who now acts in his own content, the process, I didn't consider myself a writer before Misguided, and I kind of still don't, but whatever, that's a whole different other situation. But when I'm writing, I usually act everything out in my mind, whether it's my role or not. I'm acting everything as I'm writing it, just to see dialogue or how things progress and work. And I'm curious how you do it, what your style is. Writing, and then how do you keep what you've written for yourself fresh? Because I acted out, so I'm emotionally already there during the writing process, and I'm I hope I can get back to that during the filming, but
for me, when when I'm not writing, as an actor,
Mhm.
I get a script or something. I do, you know, I read everyone's line, and you know, obviously, and you try to see their viewpoint, what their objective is, and you know how they got there. Whereas when I'm writing for my, it's funny because in Still Here, I don't speak at all.
Oh.
all.
Okay.
It's probably a little surprise, but it's very visual for me.
Okay.
And the project that I'm writing now, again, is very visual. I think people keep saying that I'm either like a director or editor, because everything is visual. And my friend Leah said, you have to leave room for the actor. So I guess I do. Well, yeah, I was, you know, when I was writing dialogue for my mom and uh, the assistant that was in there, I would write out everything that they're thinking. And yeah, I would write that out. And then, you know, Leah and actually a couple of people said, you gotta allow the interpretation. You know,
Yeah.
you can't just say, this is the feeling I want you to do. This is the feeling that you're supposed to get, that type of thing.
Yep.
Um, it has to come organically. And so that was a big thing for me. But yeah, I do try to put myself in the point of view of each person.
Yeah, I mean, it's helpful for me just to sort of envision it, especially as I've watched soaps for like years. I can sort of be like, am I seeing a soap in my head? Am I like actually seeing how a soap would play out? And sometimes it works, and sometimes I'm like, I have to really rework this.
Yeah, I mean, you're writing for a series, so you have an elongated, you know, how do you get this person from episode 1 to episode 87? You
Yeah,
know,
which wasn't actually the case when I did season one. Like I was planning just 5 episodes. They were all sort of not standalone episodes, but sort of had a through line. Never did I imagine 3 seasons later, the cast that I have, like the storylines that I've played out. I like was never, which was weird to go into a first season not thinking like big picture. But I was like, I'm just gonna do these 5 episodes and they'll be cute and whatever. And then I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna do some more.
yeah, yeah, and some of it you can get so creative. I think with there could be no dialogue, and it just could be looks, you know,
Yeah,
between people, and you have a whole 5-minute scene.
yeah,
It's interesting. It's what's the fun. The fun is the playing.
yeah.
You know, there are a lot of times for me, I'm a person that has to get it done. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. And I can lose patience. And some people are like, it doesn't have to be done tomorrow, you know, unless you're, you know, if you're hired and you're like, they're forcing you to do
Right.
things, but I don't have that luxury. And like you, I never thought myself as a writer. Um, and this is all brand new again for me as well. So I'm just writing what I'm writing.
Yeah,
And then, you know, when we get to, and as you know, whatever you write on paper isn't exactly what is brought to life
yep.
on the screen.
And then as an editor, like I learned to edit for Misguided too. So like, and then it translates into something different when you're editing because maybe you have to take something out or whatever. A scene ran too long or whatever. Um, so yeah, so it evolves from writing to acting to whatever comes
Right.
to be.
You
But
had, but you know, was Still Here. I knew exactly what I wanted. I had my vision and I wanted that interpretation. And I did say uh, to Tom, my director, I have to have this particular shot. I have to have it, and I will fight you on it. You
yeah,
know, and I tried to stay back as much as I could. I just wanted to be the actor in it.
yep.
You know, but there was one time where I was like, nope, I've got to have this. And it, like I said, I loved my whole experience with it. It was all the elements were perfect. Like,
Awesome. Well, Chuck, I think our time is up, but this has been absolutely delightful, and I love catching up with you. I've said before that like I truly believe like the universe puts people in my path, and things happen because the universe is made it so, and like all that jazz. But I didn't know if I knew you were right for the part, but I knew after a fundraising event that I had for season 2 my friends had done a party and whatnot to raise money, and then we all went out to West Hollywood after on that same day, and it was a time that we randomly bumped into each other in West Hollywood, and I thought this is really cool. Not very nice, like coincidence. The season 1 and season 2 are like merging together. It's like, all right, this works out nicely. Thank you, universe, for confirmation.
For doing that. And I gotta thank you again for letting me be a part of this so early on, because again, you never know who you're gonna meet. You should never burn a bridge. And that day was so special and intimate. It was an intimate scene, and I loved shooting that with you. And you never know what the web series life is going to hold. And so now you hear going on to season 4, 5.
Yeah, 4.
So I'm thrilled that it's going more and more and more. So I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to be a part of it.
Of course. And it's, so help me, if Trevor can ever come back, I would love to have his return.
I'm available.
Nice. I think on that note, we will end because that's perfect. But thank you again for joining, and I will post all of your social on the bottom of the screen, and I'll link to all of that too in the description so people can find you and more about Still Here and all of that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Stay safe.
You too.